Welcome to the Attorney Sekou Podcast, where stories turn into journeys and journeys creates legends. I'm your host, Sekou Clark, and I am excited to have you here today. So let's jump straight into it. The one big legal case that has been on everybody's mind, it's all over the news, it's the Diddy Trial. I'm not going to sit here and act like I am a criminal attorney, but I am an attorney that has navigated his way through federal court with federal crimes in my past. So the big thing that people are talking about is all the evidence in the case that has been presented thus far has been a lot about sex acts and domestic violence and Diddy should get off. But what are the actual charges and what are people confused about as to what needs to be proved? So the actual charges, in short, they're racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution. And people are saying, but all the evidence that has been presented with Cassie and all of them, it seems like it's just domestic violence. He should get off. But there are some basic elements that must be proved by the government in order to convict Diddy. And the toughest ones that they have to prove, which they are building their case, it's fraud, coercion, and force. Some may say there is fraud, right? Some may say there is some type of coercion, but they're saying, where was their force to have these people, these male prostitutes and all of them, to perform these sexual acts? And that is what is the biggest thing that needs to be proved. But most importantly, they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So let's see how it plays out. I will be watching just like you watching. But there has been a game changer. President Trump, of course, in everything that we discuss, there is a game changer that involves President Trump. President Trump has allegedly hinted that he's not opposed to giving Diddy a pardon. Yes, he's not opposed to giving Diddy a pardon. A lot of President Trump's pardons have been highly controversial. We just had some people released the other day. So here we are. It gets more interesting. And since we're on Trump, it's the perfect segue to go into, you guessed it, immigration. So if you've been following Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the guy from El Salvador who has a U.S. citizen wife and children. He's been here for years. He lives in Maryland. He was removed. A federal judge said that he was wrongfully removed because he received some type of protection from deportation. But then the government said that that he is a part of the MS gang. So then, no, he was actually removed to El Salvador into that crazy prison, and they were ordered to send him back. President Trump said, we're not sending him back. You can't force us to send him back. And it's been a back and forth between the government and the federal courts and El Salvador, them saying that they're not sending him back. So the latest update on the case, he was sent back. He's back in the United States. But of course, there is a twist and turn to it. He's back, but now he faces charges of trafficking and alien smuggling. It's been alleged that he has been smuggling hundreds of immigrants over the last 10 years into the country. And guess what? If he is found guilty, he will be deported back to El Salvador. Bing, bang. He's here. Send him back. Bring him back. Send him back. He's back. Now we have to send him back. And that is it. So some unfortunate news as we change gears. As you are aware, there was a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado that unfortunately injured 15 people, approximately 15 people. Devastating. And this is something that we definitely have to pay attention to as what is going on domestically and, of course, the people that have been let into the country. However, the usual twist and turn to it is that the alleged terrorist, the alleged attacker, he is an immigrant from Egypt, and he is a visa overstayer. So who is a visa overstayer? It's self-explanatory. It means that you entered on a visa. So you entered the country legally and you lost your legal status, meaning the time or the parameters of that visa, you either abuse it or you stayed longer than your time and you did not do anything to change your status to legal status. So he committed this heinous crime, allegedly committed this heinous crime. So now DHS, they released a memo stating that ICE, USCIS, and CBP, they will be cracking down on all visa overstayers, right? All visa overstayers will now be facing extra scrutiny. So what does that actually mean? So we already know that they have halted student visa applications and interviews outside of the country to do extra vetting of social media, because everybody's on social media. You're on social media right now watching this. So I do believe that visa overstayers, they're going to go through extra vetting as of right now. They're going to look at these social media posts and history to determine if anybody is adverse to the national interest. Are you a risk? They're going to look to see if there's any illicit activity. But as you know, they are going to take it a step further because of the immigration mandate, because of the immigration agenda. They are going to take a step further, and they're going to be looking for these people that have overstayed, who have criminal backgrounds, right? Obviously, who have not transitioned to any type of legal status. And they can get their information because guess what? We already discussed that there is no a duet between IRS and ICE where they can get their personal information and their location. And there are people saying, how would IRS have immigrants' number? They are illegals. People understand, right? And this is for the U.S. citizens or people who don't understand. When you hear somebody say that someone is an illegal immigrant, all illegal immigrants, right? It doesn't mean that they entered the country illegally. The fact of the matter is that at least 60% of immigrants that came into the country who are now illegal, they entered illegally. They just lost their status. So when they entered legally, a lot of people entered on work permits, student visas, where they got social security numbers, and they're still using them to work and make a living. And yes, they do still pay taxes in the billions, but who hires them? U.S. citizens and U.S. companies hire them. So they do pay taxes, and this will now be used against them in a way how to find them. So now we have it. Visa overstayers, people who are here, who entered legally, and they are now illegal. They are now a target, not just by ICE, but by USCIS and CBP. The thing about visa overstayers is that they do have options based on how immigration law is. You do have more options to get legal status versus an immigrant that entered illegally. So that is the update for immigration today, and we are excited to introduce you to our new guest. And welcome back. And we finally have our guest here today. He's not just a giant in person, but also a giant in the business world. We have Thomas Ward with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
No, man, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Great to join you.
Are you fitting in the seat?
I'm filling in the seat. Yeah, I'm a big guy.
I know, man. I know.
Probably need a couch.
Off topic, we were speaking, and he's 6'8",
yeah,
but wanted to be a pro golfer.
Yeah. What an oxymoron, right?
I know. Tell us a little bit about your golfing stint.
I started golfing at 10 years old. And
oh wow! So from
I
10.
was very young, and in Puerto Rico, where I'm from, we had a very recognized professional golfer by Chichi Rodriguez.
Yeah,
and his brother was my teacher.
Really?
So then I got really into my teens, 13, 14, 15, and then I wanted to come study in the United States and play golf.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always the intention. But when I got here, plans changed.
Okay.
I went to college, and then I lost the love for golf at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you lose that love?
I guess I had dedicated so much time to it in high school
Yeah.
and in middle school that it was just like when I came to college, I want to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And I was also playing terrible. So I gave it a break. And then after I graduated, I tried again. But that was when '08 happened.
Okay.
And that was not a good year to try professional golf.
At all.
Yeah.
All right. So you're Puerto Rican, but you are a barbecue restaurant owner.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your restaurant.
So Pig Floyds was opened in 2014.
Okay.
At that time, when I opened the restaurant, there was a couple of big players in the arena, which was Four Rivers and Sonny's.
Yeah.
Very traditional, very, down the middle. And I wanted to create something that was a little bit different, right? So I decided we're the urban barbacoa because barbacoa was kind of created in the Caribbean islands.
Got it.
When we used to, dig a hole and cook a pig underground.
Cook a pig in it, yeah. Yeah.
So I just brought that part of our tradition, that we do cook with smoke and with charcoal and all that. And then Americanized it and kind of made it international, different flavor profiles, Asian, Mexican.
Wow.
Now Asian or now Cantonese, like more specific.
Hold on. So to put a pin there, right? So we're both from the Caribbean. I'm Jamaican, right?
Uh-huh.
Jerk pork versus your smoked pork.
Totally different.
Yeah.
But I do a jerk chicken taco.
Really?
Yeah. And it's pretty popular.
Emily, and you haven't told me about this?
Yeah. A jerk chicken taco, and it's really popular. Yeah. I mean, again, that's what I'm trying to evoke, right?
Okay.
Just the different flavor profiles that all our countries have.
Yeah.
I mean, I sell plantains, I sell rice and beans, I sell yuca. I mean,
wow.
So I brought that portion of it with traditional barbecue.
Okay.
And I've been lucky that it's mixed.
Okay.
And it worked.
That was your first location.
Mills, it was my first location. In
Okay.
2014, I opened another store in Lake Nona,
Yeah.
which I closed during COVID.
Okay.
And then I opened a pizza joint in 2023.
Okay. Well, congrats on that.
Thank you.
So people always say the restaurant business is like the toughest business to really dive into.
I agree.
But you did it 3 times.
Four
Four times.
Plus a food truck and another restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done it several times. Yeah. I just, it's once you're in it, it's very hard to get out.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it, right? Because as everything, you're an entrepreneur and things get a little tough. And sometimes you're like, should I be in this business? But I've thought about it and I don't know what else I would do. It's almost like being connected to a power line.
Yeah.
And you don't know when to let go. I
Exactly.
don't know what I would do. Let's say
it gives you life.
Yeah. And I just don't know what I would do on a Saturday night if I had the night off. Like,
Really?
I feel weird.
So, in your childhood or your life in Puerto Rico, like, were you cooking? Were you
No.
attached to food? So you gained that love when you came to the U.S.
I don't want to call it love.
Okay. All right.
I gained knowledge.
Yeah.
By learning how to cook on YouTube. I don't love to
Really?
cook. I do not love to cook. I am very into the science of it.
Mhm.
Like, I can execute a recipe or find how to make a recipe work, but on the daily execution, I am not that person. I'm
Okay.
more of the idea and then running the business. I try to stay away from in the kitchen because there's no way that I'm going to grow this business if I'm in the kitchen cooking.
And a lot of entrepreneurs tend to reach that crossroads, right? In terms of, are you going to be the founder or the actual hands-on manager or both? But you chose one path.
Well, I was a manager when I started.
Of course.
When I started growing, that position changed. Then COVID happened and you become a manager again.
Yeah.
And I'm still a manager at one of the stores. So I keep active within the company. I don't want to leave that part because I think operations is so important and being in it
Okay.
gives you a little bit more of a north of where the business is going.
Yeah.
I feel the restaurant business right now is in a bit of a challenging period.
Absolutely.
After COVID, and then just the fact that the economy right now is changing so quickly with tariffs and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge, and I want to say in the last 5 years, the restaurant business has changed more than I've ever seen it change.
Okay. So before we get to that, how do you actually grow, like continuously grow the company if you're working within the company?
I mean, I think that you have to hire now. Like as I grow to my third restaurant, I have the opportunity to hire more people,
Okay.
right? But because of the changes of the economy, it used to be that at 3 stores you were in a more comfortable situation. You can hire more people.
Mm-hmm.
Now that changes to 5 stores. So if you don't get to 5 stores, you don't have that synergy to be able to bring in higher salaried people to help you grow the company.
Why is that the shift from 3 to 5 restaurants? Is it more of cash flow versus cost, or
costs have changed enormously, and the pricing has not reached where the cost is.
Okay.
We're very far behind.
Okay.
And it's going so quickly that we can't even get there, right? So, for example, $13 an hour is the minimum. That changes at the end of September to $14.
Yeah.
That bumps up your salaries about 30% because everybody starts asking for more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, how do I bump pricing 30%?
Yeah, I know. So a lot of CEOs and founders, right, they tend to say it's the people that have made the biggest impact on the growth of their company.
Yes.
Tell me one hire that you've had thus far that you're like, man, this hire was a real game changer for me.
My right hand.
Okay.
I hired her as a catering manager, and she's become now my operations manager. That was a great hire.
And was it like she had a good resume, she was just a unicorn, or you had to develop her into the role that she's at?
She had worked in the restaurant business in management, but she had never necessarily done the catering side.
Okay.
And I think over the last couple of years, as she's gone into management and operations, she's learned a lot.
Okay.
She knew a lot, but she's learned a lot. And then you have to learn how to work with people. So that's the hardest part.
Yeah. So would you say she's your unicorn?
I think she's a restaurant unicorn.
Okay.
Right? Because, and I don't say that anybody in the restaurant business is a unicorn, because there's a lot of hardworking people, but I think she wants to be in the restaurant business, wants to stay in the restaurant business, and wants to grow in it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very frequently.
Yeah. Has she attracted other talents for your company?
A lot of people like to work with her. Yeah. Okay. But again, I think the challenging part is just the business that we're in. And that's why people say that the restaurant business is so hard. It's just the people that work with us necessarily don't want to stay in the business forever.
Okay.
So it's just a point in their life that they decide, I'm going to serve for a little bit, and then I'm going to find another job, being a nurse or doing other things that they see as more of a career.
Got it.
So that's the toughest part.
Yeah. So like just the constant turnover for you.
Yeah.
And like keeping people.
Right. Right. So I had a person come in, work for us for a week, and then all of a sudden go, I found a job in another place, and left.
I know.
And so we wasted a week and a half of our time.
But how do you keep talent?
Man, you treat them really nicely.
Yeah.
And respectfully.
Expand on that a little bit more, because in my space, right? Own a law firm, a marketing company, and just like you, talent is the most important part. Like, even if you have a good brand, you have to have the people to grow it. And it's challenging to really find that mix to create the right culture versus the right compensation. Is that the same thing that you have to balance?
I think in our business, necessarily, they want to see you that you work as hard as them.
Really?
So I don't have a problem washing dishes. I don't have a problem in doing, everything they do.
Okay.
But they want to see it. Wow. They want to see that you're there. I mean, there's days that I don't show up and they're like, where were you?
Really?
Yeah. They want to see it. They want to know that you're there. Like, if you are
from the waiters to the chef, like, they
everybody. Yeah. I mean, they're telling me, why weren't you here yesterday? Like, what were you doing? They ask me questions. But I've allowed that, right?
Okay.
And I am completely open book. There's no problem. And I think that's the best part of the restaurant business necessarily, and me being in leadership and being an open book, is just typically restaurant owners are they hold back. They don't like to give information. I'll give you my recipes.
Okay.
Because it's just so hard to make it.
Yeah.
That please, I'll help you out. I mean, I've had so many people that ask me like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I help because it's just so hard to do it.
And you have no problem sharing
I have
your recipes?
No problem. I'll share my recipe with you. Go ahead, have fun, try it.
Okay.
It's just that, man. Like, I mean, I've seen so many people. I've seen some former employees open a food truck with my recipes.
Really?
And unfortunately, they failed. So,
but did they fail because of the recipe?
No, they failed because of their business acumen.
Exactly.
So I can't teach that, right?
Yeah.
I can't teach logic.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very important in business. You kind of have to be a little logical.
Yeah. How important is the culture within your business?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's drama,
yeah,
our dinner or our lunch is not going to go well.
Ah, okay. So tell us about the culture that you have built for your brand to be successful.
I've always tried to keep everybody that works in the restaurant friendly. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, somebody walked in and they brought their problems from home, and we quickly squashed that because it was already bringing the whole team down. So you have to come work and forget about what's going on at home because you're there to serve the guest, and the guests want a great experience. So it's like almost, I relate it to making a movie, right?
Yeah.
You have a producer and you're making a movie every day.
Yeah.
Because we want to make the guests happy.
Yeah. Is it more about training? Are you intentional with training, or is it choosing the right people for the culture?
Both, right? There's some people that come from other restaurants that have been trained incorrectly. So you have to correct that training, right? Because they have bad habits. And there's also people that come in the business that are new that don't know. Like sometimes we have to test them on the menu. We have to test them on ingredients.
Yeah.
So they recognize what they're eating so that they can sell.
Okay.
So yeah, you still have to teach them your business because I think all restaurants run differently. They run according to whoever's leading them.
Okay. So a question just came to mind for you, right? Over the last year, there has been a huge debate on the tipping culture that has evolved, and people are saying that restaurants and waiters, they either don't deserve a tip or everybody wants a tip. What's your thought process on tipping and how tipping should be in your industry?
If it's fast casual, right, where you order at the counter and they take food to the table and provide some sort of service, tip whatever you want. Yeah. If you want to tip 15%, 10%, whatever it is, just tip something.
Okay.
In full service, I think 18% should be the minimum that you tip.
And just for clarity, what is the full service?
Basically, there's a server. They are providing you service. They are getting you drinks. They are coming back to the table, getting your appetizers, your dish, your dessert. Follows through the steps of service with you.
Okay.
Takes you through the experience, right?
Okay.
The other one is just taking your order and goodbye.
And you don't think that should get a tip?
I think it should get a tip, but I don't think it should be the same maybe tipping that you get to a full service staff member, right?
Okay.
So if you're a fast casual and you're picking up food, maybe that way you don't tip, right?
Yeah.
When you go to Chipotle, you don't tip.
Yeah. What if you go to Starbucks and you're just at the drive-thru?
They are asking tips now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't tip.
Okay.
I guess I'm cheap. Sometimes I'm tip if there's somebody that I know. But I mean, this is a service. I think that like coffee, if there's food involved, maybe a little bit more inclined to, but I don't know about getting drinks and a tip.
Yeah. But then you have the notion out there, right? Like people are saying, hey, they should just remove the whole tipping thing and employers should just pay their servers and pay them enough so they don't have to worry about the tip.
They don't want that.
Why not?
Food would get out of control. the cost has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not going to the business owner right now. We are so overloaded with costs that we can't make a profit. So, I mean, if that happens, we're going straight into $25 lunches and $30 dinners.
But if our European counterparts are able to do it and have that culture where a tip is just a luxury, they aren't expecting a tip, why can't this be the same way in
How much
the US?
do they pay their employees?
Well, that I don't know, but yeah.
How much do they charge for their food? If you go to England and they don't tip, but their food is super expensive.
Yeah. So that's where the cost goes.
Yeah. I mean, and then you have to look at the different cost structures, like insurance in America compared to a restaurant, let's say in the UK or even Puerto Rico. A restaurant in Puerto Rico pays maybe $8,000. I pay $45,000.
And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, so there is, and they don't want to understand it. Like the fact that I spend $45,000 a year in credit card fees, they don't know that. Per store, right? Or insurance is $45,000, or Orange County charges me a tangible tax on equipment that I bought for $7,000 a year, which I don't understand that tax.
Yeah.
By the way, Orange County.
Yeah. And payroll tax would you?
Oh, I mean,
payroll tax. And these are the costs that entrepreneurs bear that the person who is not an entrepreneur
doesn't understand.
Yeah. So there's also this notion, right, that the minimum wage should be bumped up to what, $18 an hour? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that can get very touchy. So you have to be very careful about it. But at the end of the day, I say the same thing. If the cost goes up, the price is going up. Like, it is directly going up in the cost of your meal when you go out. So I guess people have to decide what they want to do. Right now, I think a lot of people are screaming that lunch and dinner are getting too expensive at restaurants. So they've cut back already. Okay. So imagine if you say that you're going to bump up people to $18 an hour as a state minimum, good luck getting people to come out and eat. I mean, it's going to be a very big luxury.
Yeah, because the cost has to go somewhere.
It has to go up. It has to go up. I mean, costs are going to continue to go up. I just don't think the reality of costs going down is ever going to come again.
But in your industry, can AI and automation mitigate that cost?
No, because the investment in opening a restaurant now is triple what it used to be, let's say in 2011 when I opened.
Okay.
To open a Pig Floyds back then, it was $600,000. To open a restaurant, less square footage, right now, I'm spending $2 million.
Wow.
So I think the cost of construction and everything that's gone up, there has to be a way to get it out, right? The business has to make money.
Exactly.
So I think that all those changes in cost and everything have just made the market impossible to lower those prices back.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's scale it back a little bit, right? Because your story and your journey, it's definitely inspirational, right? So you started from a food truck.
I started with a food truck selling burgers and grilled cheese.
Did you own the food truck? How did you acquire the food truck?
I called a friend of mine to lend me some money because I was broke. And that friend actually sold his car and lent me some money.
Really?
And we went into business together. And till this day, we're best friends, man, because he took a risk.
Wow, that's
handshake
huge.
Deal. No
really?
paper.
No contracts, and he believed in you.
And he worked it too. Some days he would disappear, other days, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, there was something in you that he had to believe in. What is that?
I think that my hard work. I mean, I dedicated 200% to that food truck to make it a success, and I think that's the way that I've always worked. What
was the most challenging period for you, like in having that food truck?
I would tell you that one time my engine broke down.
Wow.
On my way to Tampa, and I had no money.
Wow.
And we had to bring the truck back And I remember sitting in a Taco Bell going, holy shit,
Yeah.
sorry, I have no money to pay for this engine. I'm going to have to close my business. And it was $5,000, so it wasn't big.
Yeah.
But to me, that day, that was like the end of the world. But we fixed the truck within a 3-week period, and I borrowed some money from somebody, and I paid it, and then I paid it back. So it worked out.
Where do you think that mindset and that resilience comes from? Or was it or you burned your boats? This was your only way forward?
Yeah, I had already gotten fired from the supermarket business, so there wasn't really going anywhere back.
Okay.
So I would tell you, I burned the boat, but I really do think that it was just I had to figure out a way how to get out of there. You know, I had a very privileged upbringing.
Okay.
And so when that went away, you kind of have that hunger to go back to that. So
okay. So I was listening to a podcast recently, Alex Hermosi, right? And he says some entrepreneurs, they come to a point where they have to, they won't move forward unless there's a death of the parent. Death of the parent, not meaning a literal death passing away, but in terms of cutting off, being held prisoner to either them funding you, being held prisoner to their expectations of you. Is that a decision that you had to make? Because you said you had to cut off, or you grew up in a privileged life, but then here you are in that dire situation.
I was cut off by my dad. So,
okay, so you were cut off by your dad.
Yeah, I mean,
I
don't want to say cut off because I was working, but I was fired because I tried to buy a supermarket. Okay. By myself that he said no 5 times. So okay. I mean, it was a disagreement, but I would tell you that at that moment when he fired me, I was super mad. Yeah. And kind of like I wanted to pay him back in the sense of being successful on my own, and I did it.
How did your dad fire you?
He walked in and he said, "Get out. You don't work here anymore. You're trying to buy a supermarket." And he went and bought the supermarket the next day. Wow. Taught me a lesson. Best lessons he's ever done.
And what was the lesson?
I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready to run a business. I didn't understand the many intricacies of payroll and all that. Mm-hmm. I just thought I think I was 26 years old, and I thought I knew it all.
And when you say he cut you off, is it a sense that like he didn't talk to you no more? I mean,
no.
Was there still Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah. I mean, and again, my relationship with him has been great after that. Yeah. He cut me off because he gave me a severance package because my mom was going to throw him out of the house probably. But when he gave me a severance package, he fired me in May. And then in December, he said, the severance is done. So what are you going to do? And I didn't know. I didn't have a plan. Wow. Because I couldn't find a job. I had worked for Fresh Market at that point. Okay. In Miami, and they were paying so badly. Okay. That I wasn't going to make it there. So I moved back, and he offered me to go to graduate school. Okay. And I didn't get accepted. So at that point, I was like, man, there's a lot of things going against me here. Yeah. What do I do? Right?
You're like looking for that win.
Yeah, I was looking for like, where am I going? Right. Yeah. I don't have any direction. It's a bad economy at that point. So jobs are few and far between. So I was just looking at my opportunity, and I said, well, there isn't a lot of food trucks. And if I do a food truck, I have an asset that if I fail, I can dispose of, and I don't lose all the money.
Okay. So that was the logic behind it.
Yeah, that was the logic. So I was like, man, a food costs $40,000. You know, if we fail at it, the worst that we can do is we sell it for 30 and we lose 10, right? Like, yeah, it's not that much when you are starting a business. Okay. So I know there's stories of people that start businesses with $10,000 and now they're billionaires, but yeah, in the food business, I don't think that happens very often.
Okay. All right. So you fixed the food truck. It's up and running. Yeah. What was the winning moment for you where you're like, all right, no, I'm going to open a brick and mortar?
There really wasn't a winning moment. There was just a moment where I said there's no more growth opportunity in the food truck business. And I said the next step is a brick and mortar. And funny thing is that at that point, my dad calls me to open a restaurant in the back of a new supermarket he had built back home in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So I went and opened my restaurant there.
Okay.
The disadvantage is that the building that we were in, the developer went bankrupt.
Yikes.
In bankruptcy court, they can void your lease.
Yeah.
So the guy voided our lease.
Wow.
And so I lost my restaurant.
Wow.
So then I got on a plane and I walked back to the United States in Orlando and I figured to open a barbecue joint.
Okay.
And here we are.
So what was the gap? How did you fill that gap to food truck, open a restaurant, then
close it?
And
then a year it took me to open the next restaurant, which was Pig Floyds.
Okay. And how did you close that gap? Like, what were the steps that you took?
Well, I had to search for investors because I was very broke. So I had to do a business plan. I had to figure out how to get the numbers. I had to figure out the real estate that I had to either buy or lease.
Yeah.
It was just a series of things that I had to figure out to get this restaurant built out and opened. I mean, so many different things, and which I learned the hard way because I didn't have a lot of people advising me.
Got you. How important is the skill of sales for you in this whole process?
I think the skill of sales is in every job.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. So sales is 100% important.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even to investors, right, you still have to sell them. You still have to communicate value in your vision, right?
Mm-hmm. They have to believe in your vision and they have to believe in you executing the vision, right? Because there could be a lot of visions. This is probably a vision, but he got somebody that believed in him, or maybe he has money.
Yeah.
And he got it through, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's very hard. And sometimes it just happens that opportunities come in the weirdest places. And that's what happened to me, right?
Okay.
We rented a property to a very nice lady that moved here because her son wanted to play golf in the United States.
Yeah.
And one day she mentioned that she wanted to invest in a restaurant, and I happened to have my prospectus there, and she did.
Wow.
Random. Didn't ask her.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, and I've had a lot of that. It's been, I've had that great virtue that I had people that have invested in my future because they believe in me.
What's your superpower? Every CEO has one.
I forget easy.
Okay. What does that mean?
Move on quick. If you stay stuck, you can really damage yourself, I feel like, as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a lot of people that stay stuck on their losses.
Yeah.
And I think you got to keep moving it on. You're going to lose, so get used to it.
Absolutely. And I share the same mindset, right? And I feel like if you don't lose enough, the wins won't be big enough, right? And it's a certain type of mindset. It's a certain type of resilience where, you lose, you take the lesson, but then you just got to move on right away. So many people get so paralyzed when something doesn't go the way that they anticipated, or a person doesn't pan out to be the person that they said that they were going to be.
Correct.
And it paralyzes them for even years.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then they lose some money and they get into this, negative headspace, and you need to keep moving on because you already lost it. Now you got to make it back, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that that's probably my strongest point. Is just like, if you get a loss, you could cry it for a day, but keep moving because there's going to be other wins, right?
Yeah.
Can't be losing forever.
No, at all. Pig Floyds. How did you come up with that name?
I was at lunch with somebody and they mentioned about naming it Pig Floyds. I really didn't even listen to the band Pink Floyd, so it wasn't really necessarily related. I just, in my head, it just made sense, right? And I relate restaurant names to you gotta make sure that the person remembers it really easily.
Okay.
Like, my pizza joint is called Pigza. Not a lot of people like the name, but they talk about it.
Okay. All right. How important is branding?
Very important.
Yeah. Give us, if someone wanted to build a brand, right? Give us 3 things, because I mean, Pig Floyds, pizza, branding is obviously something that is at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is always the product.
Okay. So you're branding over product.
I mean, your branding can fix your product, but if your product sucks, your branding ain't gonna last long.
That is true.
So I think I've always been a guy that's been focused on the product has to be right.
Okay.
The branding is great. You want people to recognize it, but if your product doesn't talk consistently, I don't think you're gonna make it.
All right. And what are some pillars that you stand on to maintain and to build a good product?
Value.
Okay.
I think value is a very important thing in the restaurant business, offering value in terms of how much you serve, because people want to see a lot of food in America. I think product-wise, I've never gone down in quality. I've gone up.
Really?
Yeah. So like at one point I was buying, choice brisket, and I decided that I was going to take the next step and go to upper choice. It was a $50 to $1 change, but it was worth it because it's a better product, and I had no problem.
Wow.
I'm probably the most expensive rib guy in town, but I offer also the largest rack. So, I mean...
How much are your ribs?
$45 for a 3.5 pound rib. So it's pretty large. My main competitor, I think, it has a 2 pound rib, but the guest doesn't see that. They just see the amount of bones. They don't see that the rib is a smaller rib. So sometimes it can be bad, right? Because people see a price and they go like, whoa. Yeah. They get sticker shock. But when you see the value is there, then I always say that it just our brand takes a little bit longer for you to like.
Okay. All right.
You might not like it the first time, but you'll see, like, when you compare to what's out there, I think we provide a lot of value and we provide great service, and the food is pretty consistent.
Okay. Changing gears to immigration, right? Your industry traditionally relies heavily on immigrant workers. Has the new climate of immigration affected your company?
No.
Wow, that's good.
No, because, when we hire, we make sure that everybody has all their paperwork. And we also, I even have a lawyer in that I pay hourly if they need help.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I brought a lawyer the other day to make sure that everybody's papers were complete and correct. And
you provide this for your employees?
I did.
That's good.
Yeah.
Take notes.
Yeah. It's a minimal cost. The lawyer comes in, talks to the employee, asks them for their paperwork. And if they have a problem with their paperwork, we'll try to help them out. But we haven't had that up till now. So we've been lucky.
Okay. That's good.
Everybody's got their paperwork straight.
How sympathetic are you to the immigrants who are
very
caught up?
Very. Because there's a lot of great people that are immigrants working very hard.
Okay.
Harder than some people that are American citizens.
Yeah. So I have this debate with a lot of founders as well, right? With American-born workers versus immigrants, right? And there's an overwhelming tilt towards one direction. What's been your experience?
I wouldn't call it a tilt, but... I would say that there's good and bad in every business and every industry. But a lot of the people that are immigrants that work in our business, they work very hard.
Okay.
Very hard. Like they love their job. They're very proud of what they do, which I think is the biggest thing, actually. It's not even that a lot of people don't like to work very hard. They're just proud of the work that they do, and they love their job. And I think a lot of people have lost the love for their job, and sometimes they don't understand the purpose that they're there for.
Yeah.
Right? It's a job. You got to execute, and you got to be good at it. They take it for granted. And I think that's part of the problem that we have in today's, economy, is that a lot of people got free money for a long time.
That's true. Yeah.
They got accustomed to that lifestyle, and then all of a sudden the economy changed, and they're
You have to get back to work.
You got to get back to work.
Wow. So there's one notion, right, that Puerto Ricans, they often fall in this interesting mid-ground, because I mean, Puerto Ricans are Americans. People, you need to know that, right? But it's like Puerto Ricans are Americans, but then you have Americans who feel like Puerto Ricans aren't American enough. How do you feel about that notion, or you think it's bullshit?
I mean, I think it's bullshit. We have U.S. citizenship since, I think the 50s.
Yeah.
We served in the army, so what's the issue?
I know.
There shouldn't be any issue. I mean, listen, everybody's getting into politics, and I think they should walk out of politics and get back into focusing on their business.
Exactly.
Because politics is not going to make them money.
Period.
Even me talking to my dad politics, I don't even engage because I can't change it by myself. So
yeah,
I really have to deal with what I'm given.
Exactly. I love that. Speaking of your dad, right? How important do you believe your dad is to your success right now?
Intricate.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I didn't grow up with a dad that was entrepreneur and with a dad that worked his ass off, I probably wouldn't have my work ethic.
Okay.
I mean, there's summers that I had to work and I had to wake up at 3 a.m. to go sell ice cream. So at 16 years old, I don't think a lot of 16-year-old kids were out selling ice cream at 5 a.m. So I hated it. But nowadays, I mean, it's given me my work ethic. So
I have an interesting question for you. I'm curious to see how you'll answer it.
Nervous.
If you could tell your dad one thing now that you have never told him, what would it be?
That's an interesting one. Wow, I got to think about that one, man. How do I answer that one? What would I have? I've told him pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I think what he has, my dad's 77 years old right now. And I think as he retired, he lost a lot of his north. And as I think he felt older, he also felt that he wasn't serving the same purpose as when you're a CEO of a company. So I think the most important thing that I would tell him is that I still admire him.
Wow.
For what he's done and what he did. I mean, he sold his company to Nestle in 2005 and made a ton of money. So, and he made that company out of nothing. So, you gotta give the guy props for doing it. But has he made mistakes? Oh man, he's made a lot of them. And
even when he fired you, right? Or that wasn't a mistake?
I don't think that was a mistake. I deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I think the truth is very important.
In terms of the restaurant right now, right? You said fusions are a big thing for you. What's the next fusion that we should look out from you?
From me?
Yeah.
Oh, from me? In the new restaurant, we're doing Cantonese BBQ, which is, I basically bought woks.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to bring in fried rice, stir-fried noodles, and a few international dishes that basically will kind of make our concept even a little bit more international, right? Because we can bring piri piri chicken, we can bring a lot of different products from different areas of the world. So I just want to let people know that barbecue does exist in other countries.
I know, right? People think
because they think it's just America,
American,
right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of countries that use smoke. And there's a lot of countries that have just different flavor profiles that I think American people love, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
I will tell you that, I sell food on Uber Eats. And right now in Uber Eats, the most sold food is Asian. In Orlando. So
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, you probably like fried rice, you like all that.
One of those people, yeah.
I mean, it's just so easy to eat.
Okay.
Right? And to transport and take out and all that. And there's also, they give a value orientation because they serve a lot of food, right?
Yeah.
When you buy fried rice, it's 2 cups of rice.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this TikTok, right? But I think it was this guy. He started a restaurant, right? On TikTok, like built the brand, but it wasn't an actual restaurant. He was in his house and he would order from Chinese restaurants and then sell it back.
Wow.
And I mean, he's profitable.
That's crazy.
With significantly low overhead. But created this profile on Uber Eats that looks like a 4 or 5 star restaurant.
That's crazy.
But he would just order from other places.
Look at that.
And resell it.
That's
right?
great. So, I guess.
Yeah.
Did they cut him off because he was selling from home?
No.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh, because I guess there's a loophole, right?
Exactly. And he found it like they didn't. I mean, he's still up and running.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people buy.
And people buy it.
Look at that. They don't even read.
Yeah. All right. So as we're closing, your 20-year-old self, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self and tell him something, what would it be?
Wow. You're not going to be driving Ferraris at 40. Because I was driving Ferraris at 20.
Wow. Okay.
Life is not going to be what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And is it better or worse than you?
Better. I mean, if I would have been a kept child, as I would call it, the child of a rich parent, I would have been under my parents' spell. So they would be giving me instructions till this day, probably, right?
Yeah.
If they provided what I ate with. So I think the fact of the matter is that it happened the way that it needed to happen for me to grow as a human being and understand that wasn't what I made. I didn't make that money. My dad did. So
yeah.
But I was under a different parameter at that time, right?
Absolutely.
So at that vision, it's so different to look now from 41 to 20 and say, hey man, like,
yeah,
things are going to be a little different when you're 41, you know?
Yeah. What is your definition of success?
Man, it's not the same that it used to be, but I will tell you, that you could pay all your bills and at one point you feel comfortable enough that you can, that you don't have to worry where your next meal comes from. I think that's success.
Nice.
Because there's a lot of people out there just living check to check.
Absolutely.
I'm not there, by the way, because I keep investing in my company, so I'm broke.
There's levels to it, though.
Yeah.
So this is one question that CEOs and founders grapple with, right? Are you happy?
Am I happy? No. And yes. I answer that no because we haven't reached the goal. Yes, because we've made it through a lot of hard times. And I think it takes a lot of guts to be in business for yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You got to wake up every day and you got to make sure that the families that work for you are taken care of.
Yeah.
So there's a level of responsibility there that I feel is very important for business owners, that, you take care of your people. I mean, I worry all the time about all my people.
And it's a heavy weight that a lot of people don't understand that you carry.
They'll never understand it. They'll never know what's going on, right? There's moments that I'm walking into the restaurant and I'm feeling so broke that I'm like, holy shnikes, are we going to make it? But they don't have to worry about that. No. And that's what I get. I guess that's what I get paid to do, right? To worry about the success of the restaurant and the financial acumen of the company moving forward and making decisions to be able to keep growing, right?
Yeah.
My intention has always been to open 50 restaurants, so that's my north. I carry a check and I look at the check all the time.
I do the same thing, actually. I have a check that I wrote like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I wrote it in 2017.
Nice.
I still carry it. I don't know if I'm going to cash it, but I'm working on it.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise. Each one reach one, each one teach one, right? If you could teach an entrepreneur something right now that wants to go down the same path that you're at right now, what would it be?
I would teach him a couple things. I would probably say discipline is huge, right? You got to make choices in life to be successful, and you have to give away some of the fun so that you can succeed, right? You can't be partying and then making money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other people do make money while partying. I also think that you can't teach the hardships, and I think that as entrepreneurs we all go through them. So I don't know that I can teach somebody how to behave when they're going through a rough period in their time, but I can advise them, right?
Okay.
And I feel that, like, for example, with mentors that I've had, when I call them and I tell them my problems, typically my problems are pretty small to what they have. So it always puts things into perspective, right? Because we think that our problems are bigger probably than what we think they are.
Exactly.
So then, let's say I call one of my mentors and I tell him that my insurance is $45,000 and he tells me his is $1.8 million every year. You understand? So it's just like, whoa, how do you, it's just different levels, I guess.
Awesome. Well, Thomas, it was amazing hearing your story, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. A lot of amazing
nuggets. I appreciate you. Yeah. I know you're a busy man, so I definitely can't wait for the viewers to hear your story and learn from it.
Thank you.
Inspired.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Thanks.